A big-time IMG prospect and 4 top-notch corners on today's Florida High School Football Recruiting Countdown.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal news. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime recruiting analyst and college football writer. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Head over to 5 Hour Energy right now, and you can find over 15 flavors to choose from. And if you need one now, you can grab one at a convenience store, grocery store, anywhere around you. Make sure you stay energized with 5 Hour Energy. We've got 5 players on the countdown today, 25 to 21. We're going to start off with IMG Academy's Breck Kolojay, one of my favorite interior offensive linemen, not only in the state of Florida, but the former player out of the state of Colorado, now transferred to IMG Academy, is a guy that I just think is one of the best interior offensive linemen in the country, especially as a pass setter. He's really good, 6'5", just over 300 pounds. I saw him this past weekend at Battle in the Trenches in South Florida, competing for California Power. That was a really good event, and he did well. I think that there are very few interior offensive linemen that have come into college with any kind of ability to truly feel comfortable with advanced pass rushers. Breck is at least competitive with about anybody he goes against, playing tackle or guard. But as an interior offensive lineman where he projects, this is a guy that will have an advantage. He's really taken to his craft, and I think that it's going to show because he'll start probably as a redshirt freshman somewhere. It's a big-time program. To that point, he just took 2 visits. These are not the kind of programs that are going to take things lightly. Number one, Ohio State. They just won the national title. And then with Bill Belichick now in Chapel Hill coaching the North Carolina Tar Heels, he took a visit there as well. His mom and him took a picture with Bill, and it's on social media. I just retweeted that, actually. This is going to be a unique recruitment because he's already got Oklahoma April 11th, Miami June 6th, Georgia June 13th, and then Tennessee June 20th. Where do Carolina and Ohio State go if they get official visits? I assume they are, with his late unofficial visit to each of them. He's going to be a busy young man. We'll see where Breck goes, but I think he could play for any program in the country, and he, again, is one of the best interior offensive linemen, regardless of state. Next is another very versatile player, and it's the beginning of 4 consecutive DBs who I think every one of them can play corner, and to be honest, I think every one of them can play multiple spots in the secondary. Xavier Lherisse, 5'10", 180 pounds, O'Galley High School in Melbourne. It's on the Space Coast. He's committed to the Oregon Ducks. We'll get into the recruitment in a second, but there's a reason Oregon went all the way across the country to get with Xavier and try to get his commitment, and they already did about a month ago. I think this is going to be the kid that is the hardest out of any of the Florida DBs to pencil into one specific position. I saw him at Miami Under Armour. He was really good playing trail technique, and man, got a pick. He's really good at the line of scrimmage playing bump and run, and he's also a guy just based on his film that can play off coverage, in charge on the football, and be physical in the run game. You can play him on offense. You can use him as a return man. He's just a football player in general. If I had to guess, I think he'll eventually end up at nickel at some point in his career at the college level. But he could also play safety. He could also play corner. Depends on your scheme, what you want him to do, and what your other personnel is, just as a starting point. And that doesn't even count who you're going up against because you might move him around from game to game. Xavier Lherisse is one of the most unique DBs in the country, and Oregon's still going to have to fend off some really good programs. Florida State, Notre Dame. I'm sure Florida's going to come after him. They offered him recently. He's going to have plenty of other opportunities, Miami, etc. Will he take visits? Will he go through the process? We'll see. But right now, Xavier Lherisse is committed to the Oregon Ducks. Next up is a guy that is very, very long. For those of you that tuned into this podcast today via YouTube, he's the guy that I had as the thumbnail picture. He's 6'2", 6'3", somewhere in that range. I think he's about 6'3" now. He plays at Winter Park High School in the middle of Orlando. Ayden Pouncey. Yes, he is related to the Pouncey twins that played at UF back in their glory days, and he's got a family history that's incredible. The Pouncey family's about as athletic as it gets. Great kid, could play corner, could play safety. You could probably play him at receiver. But the biggest question, though, with his height, I mean, he's conservatively 6'2.5", if I had to really kind of guess. Could he play corner? Because guys at that size, if they can play corner, man, it just changes what you can do defensively, whether zone or man, or you want to mix it up and play some kind of match defense, kind of like Saban used to run, and that it's starting to spread a little more throughout college and pro football. If you look at what he can do, change of direction with his length and how he moves, you're like, I think he can play corner. That's probably going to be your thought process. I know it's mine, but meeting him and being around him too also aids this, because he's just a likable kid. He's somebody that's coachable, and I think he will learn his craft and just continue to get better. His offer list is through the roof, and I think his potential is as well. I don't know where he's going to go. He's got Miami May 30th. He's got Syracuse June 6th, Notre Dame June 20th. He might have another visit, but those are the ones I know of. Ayden Pouncey is really, really good, but I don't have any idea where he's going to go. This will be a long recruitment. I'm sure Florida and some other programs will try to get him on campus too. And if I don't have the whole list, I apologize, but those are the ones I know of right now. When we come back, we got two more top-notch corners to talk about today on Florida's High School Football Recruiting Countdown here on The Portal. Daylight savings time has snuck up on us again, and if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep like I am, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little more boost to power through your day. Whether you're staying up to watch the NCAA tournament or going out with friends or whatever you're doing, 5-Hour Energy gives you that extra boost, that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. If you're like me, staying up watching the tournament is certainly a big part of that, and I like doing it, but that doesn't mean you get as much sleep. So maybe the next morning, 5-Hour Energy can help you out. Need a 5-Hour Energy? Check it out at 5hourenergy.com, and to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango, and more. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. If you need one now, 5-Hour Energy shots are locally at your grocery store, convenience store. So make sure you stock up today and stay energized with 5-Hour Energy. Two more players to talk about on today's Florida High School Football Recruiting Countdown. Please like and subscribe so you can hear more of these pods. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. We're going to have to finish this out through this weekend. Going to have some fun with it, but every player will be highlighted. And next up on the list, again, this is another top-notch corner, a kid that really impressed me at the Under Armour Orlando camp. He's got the fastest time this year at a camp for Under Armour, and that is C.J. Bronaugh. 6'1", 175 pounds out of Windermere High School. It's on the west edge of Orlando. And this kid is absolutely electric in his change of direction and his ability to follow direction too. Like, he's very coachable. Yes, sir. No, sir. Those coaches at the college level are going to love that wherever he ends up going. And this is a kid that just doesn't care where he plays. He's probably going to be a corner, but he could be a safety if you wanted him to be. Physical kid, long arms. But again, kind of like I was talking about with Ayden Pouncey a few minutes ago, when you have guys with length, and this kid's a sub 4.4 guy, when you have guys with length that can run like that, you're probably going to want them at corner if you can. If you've got enough of them to play one at safety, that's a whole nother level. But Bronaugh is a guy that I think is going to really, really make a dent in the rankings across the country as people see more of his film, some of his highlights, his 40 time, etc. I knew about him because I saw him live, but I don't think everybody does in terms of the recruiting rankings yet, but it's deserving. As far as visits go, he's committed to Nebraska, but he just unofficially visited Florida State, and that's where this gets interesting. The Florida State staff that was at Nebraska, much of it has now moved their talents to Tallahassee. We'll see if Mike Norvell and the Knowles can get that one done, but that would be a huge addition. What's probably the biggest position for them in terms of depth and talent in Tallahassee right now, I would say, is DB, but they've got Sertan back there. They got Coach Evan Cooper, guys that have Florida ties, so that helps. And Florida State's got a lot of DB tradition. We'll see. Nebraska, June 6th, Penn State, June 20th. LSU's been a program in contact with him. I don't know where he's going to go. He's got a lot of options, but Bronaugh is a kid that absolutely deserves all the credit that he's gotten so far. He's a really good kid. And again, he can absolutely fly. So I see why the offers are starting to come in, and he's become one of the hottest recruits in America. The final guy is one of the players that I have not seen yet. There aren't very many of these in the state of Florida that I want to. Chauncey Kennon, he's from Booker High School in Sarasota. Florida State and Georgia, so I'm told, are the two schools to watch out for. It's going to depend partially with what Florida State does this spring. You probably go to spring practice or two, but more importantly, what they do this fall. So I'll talk about his official visit list here in a second, but Florida State and Georgia are two of the schools that he really likes, and it depends on the day, like where he might be leaning. But those are the schools that are most likely to end up with him. However, the 30th of May, that's when he's going to visit Miami. He's also got LSU June 20th, in addition to his June 6th visit to Athens and his June 13th visit to Tallahassee. Chauncey Kennon's another guy. Again, it's insane how many of these kids there are with length this year in Florida, but 6'2" corners just don't grow on trees. And his ability to do it in game action last year, his huddle highlights are really good. That's just something you can't ignore. I'm curious if he continues on that path. I don't know him. I've never met him, but I love his film and the offer list, and like Georgia coming after a kid. That's a sign. Like Kirby doesn't miss very often on corners. Chauncey Kennon's a guy that I think has a chance to really go up the ladder. He doesn't go to the camps and all that, and that's unfortunate for us in the media, but the film still doesn't lie. He's one of the best players in the state of Florida, and some people have him top 10, like in the state, and I get it, but I just haven't seen him live like some of these other kids, so I've got him number 21 overall. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your latest recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal news. We're going to finish out the Florida high school football recruiting countdown by the end of the weekend. It's a lot of fun for me. I hope you enjoy it as well. Please hit that like button, that notification bell, and subscribe to this podcast and share it. See you again soon here on the Portal Podcast.